Hello, welcome to this update for the severe weather. So we still have these enhanced risk spots of Wisconsin into Illinois and Indiana, even northwestern Ohio and Michigan into Minnesota. And we have this bigger slight risk all the way from Arkansas to Minnesota, and these new slight risk spots of Virginia and North Carolina. So we had some changes since yesterday, especially these tornado probabilities. Now they added this 10% hatched across Wisconsin, spots of northern Illinois, including Chicago, and spots of Indiana into Michigan. So please be careful in those areas. The potential for strong tornadoes today, especially this afternoon into this evening. There's this very big 2% across most of the Midwest into the Mid-Atlantic and all the way to Texas. So be careful. There's wind threat, 30% still. They added this hatched across Michigan into Indiana for potentially some hurricane force winds and into northwestern Ohio. There's the 15 and 5% and the 15% on the East Coast too. So be careful. There's hail still, similar to yesterday, the 30% and 15% and 5%, and the new 15% on the East Coast. But especially this hatched area goes all the way from Minnesota to Missouri for some very large hail. So stay safe in those areas. Be careful, especially the tornado threat. So severe thunderstorms expected across parts of the upper Mississippi Valley and Great Lakes this afternoon and evening. Tornadoes, some which could be strong and very large hail, damaging winds will be possible. Severe thunderstorms are also expected through over the lower Ohio Valley, Ozarks, and parts of the Mid-Atlantic. So stay safe in those areas, especially in the enhanced risk of those tornadoes. So please be careful. And there's here like there's the Colorado State University too, shows the hail and the damaging winds. But they also have the 10% tornado. They have even a small 15%, the Colorado State University. So we'll keep watching this. There might still be some changes today, but I don't expect any big changes. But just stay tuned to the outlook if you are there. So be careful. Tomorrow is another interesting day. We have this enhanced risk now for spots of Kentucky, Ohio, spots of Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, into Arkansas and Tennessee. So another enhanced risk tomorrow, and this light risk, a marginal around it. The marginal goes all the way from Texas to New York. So a very big area, and we have this very large 10% area for tornadoes tomorrow. So this might be upgraded still, and there's this 5 and 2% around it. So and still hedged for potentially strong tornadoes tomorrow. So stay safe for Friday, today and tomorrow. So there's wind too, the 30% hatched for some hurricane force wind spots of Ohio, Kentucky, especially most of Kentucky, into Tennessee, Indiana, spots of Illinois too. So please stay safe. And there's hail, the 30% as well, a little bit further west into Missouri, Kentucky, spots of Arkansas, Illinois, Indiana. So please be careful. Tomorrow, severe thunderstorms appear likely to develop across parts of the Mississippi for the lower Ohio valleys Friday afternoon into Friday night. During the late afternoon to the evening, this may include a few intense supercells posing risk for large hail and tornadoes. During the evening to overnight, these will probably include upscale growth organizing clusters posing risk for strong damaging winds, perhaps continuing risk for tornadoes. So please stay safe in those areas. And let's see day 3 if there's something. There's still two slight risks for day 3, especially in the Mid-Atlantic, spot to the East Coast, and also another one in Texas, Oklahoma, into Arkansas. And there's this giant margin risk, goes all the way from Texas to Vermont. So be careful as well for Saturday, day 3, still the 15 and 5%. Severe thunderstorms are possible Saturday across parts of the mid-Atlantic, late Saturday and Saturday night across the southeastern Great Plains. So stay safe in those areas. And the Cross University is also here for Saturday, kind of the same area, the SIPs as well. So be careful those storms. And later on, it's about to get busy. It's already busy, but next week will be even more. Shows the Cross University area has a 45% for day 5 spots of the plains, and day 4 in the plains into the Midwest. So we really need to watch this. Here's the Storm Prediction Center for Sunday, day 4, 15% from Texas to Kansas and Colorado, Oklahoma, and southern Nebraska. For Monday, day 5, might be the biggest day. There's the 15% all the way from Texas to Iowa, spots of Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma into Nebraska as well. In day 6, we already have another 15% for day 6, spots of Texas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, and into southern Iowa and Illinois, and kind of eastern Kansas. So please be careful. Day 7, 8 are still nothing, but still shows like the day 6 and day 7, the Colorado State University. But we really have to watch for Monday, next Monday. So stay safe in those areas. Here's the supercell composite for week 1, like today until next week. You see it's very busy, and still shows week 2 in the plains and week 3 to watch. So now here, the most important part for these storms. So does show like, let's zoom in a little bit further north. So shows that heavy rain spots of the Dakotas into Nebraska and some storms in Minnesota already, but this goal shows some stronger cells in Minnesota and the Dakotas later at noon or early in the afternoon. This goes, and then this starts happening. This line of severe storms starts firing later in the afternoon by 3 to 5 p.m. and then shows like some very intense cells in Minnesota and to Wisconsin, especially Wisconsin be the greatest threat, but also some pretty intense ones in Minnesota too. This goes, and later shows even stronger like spots of the Midwest, and Wisconsin shows some very strong ones very close to Chicago later in the evening, and those whites there are like very intense cells, probably some strong tornadoes and hail, especially hail. This indicates some giant, very large hail. So still shows in Wisconsin by the evening the strongest of the storms, and in further central Illinois as well. So this goes, and throughout the later in the evening there into Michigan still shows some very strong cells into Michigan, so stay on alert there as well into northern Indiana. This goes and goes away. This low pressure is still spinning there by Friday tomorrow, still some rain drizzles and some storms there into the Midwest tomorrow. So stay safe in those areas. And here shows like those storms today, they might affect spots of southern Canada as well into Ontario later in the night into tomorrow morning. So this goes, and maybe even to New York, Pennsylvania, more storms as well. And this goes there. Still shows Friday, some rain, New Jersey and Delaware, so some spots there. So stay safe. But the real stuff for Friday will start later across. Let's see if I can find a good map here. This one so shows some showers in the morning, a few storms in the early afternoon, but then shows like this massive cluster later across Kentucky, Indiana, and some very intense cells in Missouri later Friday evening. Later in the evening, like into the night, shows some very strong, like some very large hail and tornadoes in those cells further into Missouri, Illinois, and those areas. So please stay safe. Shows around the storms, like in the morning or into the noon, a little bit in the early afternoon, but this is the real thing tomorrow. So please be careful as you can see here as well, there might be a thing or two in Texas, into Arkansas, those storms tomorrow. So please stay safe. Now shows here this cape. You see this in Wisconsin this afternoon and Minnesota. That pink is almost to 3,000 joules per kilogram of cape, even to 3,500 in some areas. And Illinois is even more than 4,000, that black. So a lot of energy for those storms. Be careful. This goes still shows later in the evening. The storm start in the Cape Up, but still shows some in front of it, especially southern Wisconsin into Illinois, more than 3,000 joules per kilogram. So this goes diminishes a little bit during the night, but does show tomorrow about noon or something, the early afternoon, above 4,000 joules per kilogram in the southern Midwest. Then this goes and still shows later during those storms some more Cape, but some blank spots there where the storms will be. So be careful. Even showing some crazy things in North Carolina, like 6,000 joules per kilogram, but there won't be any big storms there, but there will be Cape. So yeah, please be careful. There's like here dew point 2 shows those areas of the Midwest in the 60s, further in southern Illinois in the upper 60s, but in Wisconsin, in spots of Michigan, the high 50s to 60s, especially later ahead of the front, some brighter yellows close to the upper 60s dew point, so a lot of moisture too. And tomorrow still shows a lot ahead of those storms, so please be careful, especially today, those storms, tornado threat. And here shows like some very strong wind gusts in the high plains below that low pressure as well. Be careful, some damaging winds there too, but the most damaging winds will be those storms there in the Midwest, so please be careful. The storms, and again tomorrow, so the HER is already showing here like some spots later in the evening, some very high wind gusts, even to 70, more than 70 mile per gusts. Some of those storms tomorrow evening, Friday. So please stay safe. They start there in Kentucky, Indiana. You can see those whites like close to 60, 70 mile per gust, and then it keeps going. So please stay safe. There's like north today it shows true, but it's not so clear when looking at the model here. But you can see some tiny black spots like even to 280 mile per gust in some of those storms. So please stay safe and have plenty of ways to receive warnings. That's the most important part, and just a shelter, a place to go those tornadoes. So here the significant tornado parameter does show today in the afternoon, spots further south about like in the early afternoon, but later in the evening start showing Illinois, some higher parameter spots of Wisconsin. But let's see if it shows anything more interesting. It does show Indiana to Illinois some very high parameters later in the evening. This goes and still shows later further south. But let's see it again if it shows anything further north. It does show more in Wisconsin, but it's not looking so impressive here on the model. But we do have that 10% hatch there, so please stay safe. And there's the 12C. Let's see if it shows anything better. It does show some more in some isolated spots, southern Wisconsin and Illinois. So please stay safe, and let's just verify again. But please be careful. There's the updraft list to see like the potential track those severe storms. So I'll just put it until Saturday to see everything. So it does show finger to Minnesota and North Dakota, but especially there in Wisconsin, those areas some stronger tracks, and shows more for Illinois into Indiana southern Michigan especially. That's for today. But for Friday, the hurry is even crazier into Missouri and Kentucky. Shows some very strong tracks like chance for tornadoes and damaging winds and hail. So please be careful. Those areas stay safe no matter what. So be careful. And here, like I showed you before, there we have day 5, day 6. So stay safe. Let's see if there's anything else for the excessive rainfall. So still shows that the marginal today in the mid-Atlantic, spots of the Midwest as well, and in the north, in the Dakota, especially into Montana and Minnesota. Day 2 is a slight risk further south into the Ohio Valley, spots the upper Mississippi Valley, and especially Kentucky in the Midwest and those spots. So be careful, some flash flooding for those storms. And shows like day 3 a marginal further south and the northeast, day 4 in the Midwest again into the plains, and as far north as Montana and spots of the southwest. Day 5 this big marginal again the Midwest into the plains with this funny shape and spots the four corners. So be careful in those areas and stay safe. The expectations for the rainfall totals lowered a little bit since yesterday, but still shows close to 4 inches spots North Dakota next 5 days, and spots South Dakota just 3 to 4 inches. This is actually 7 days. So stay safe, be careful. Spots in Kentucky more than 3 inches. So be careful in those areas, and just today expect more than 2 inches, like 1 to 2 inches in those areas. So be careful and stay safe. There's some snow still in the higher peaks of Wyoming, Colorado, into Montana, but nothing that crazy. Day 3, a finger or two on the west still. Day 4 shows more in the Rockies as the system advances on Sunday to cause the severe weather. On Monday, still snow, and Tuesday, Wednesday kind of goes away. So stay safe, and still shows you those hazards. Some heavy rain in the green especially, and some hazardous heat there still in Texas and Louisiana. So stay safe. The severe weather in orange. So be careful, and still shows southern Texas the major heat risk today into southeastern Texas and some moderate on the Midwest and southeast. Friday it's more extreme heat risk in southern Texas. Saturday more extreme, even close to Houston, some spots in Austin. Sunday still big extreme in Texas, even into Louisiana. Monday more extreme heat risk. Tuesday, Wednesday it lowers a little bit in some major in Florida. Wednesday even small extreme just south of Orlando. But stay safe. That heat, especially in Texas. Please be careful. So this is for Sunday. There's the GFS shows this next trough coming into the plains, and this will bring some snow in the Rockies as well. Sunday and the severe weather starting. So shows like this is already Monday, especially later by Monday, shows a little bit stronger. And there's the European too to see if there's any difference, but shows us more like wide. Similar thing. By Tuesday, still there, but a little bit less strong. Now for dew points, still shows like, let's see, Monday first or Sunday. Better see Sunday. So or like Sunday evening. So here's does show Oklahoma, Texas, where that 15% is. As even choose like the low 70s dew points for Sunday. So please be careful. Some 60s as well, possibly. So a lot of moisture for those storms. And one day later, for Monday, doesn't show. That's Thursday, not Monday. So Tuesday at 0Z. That's like Monday evening. So shows even to 73 dew points in Oklahoma, some 60s, 70s, and maybe a possible dry line spots of Texas and Oklahoma. So a very good setup for those storms already. So stay safe, please be careful. And let's see if it shows something here, some shear too. So be careful, we'll keep watching. But let's see the European for the Cape Monday. So Sunday already shows even to 2000 joules per kilogram, spots of Oklahoma. But like Sunday evening, the Europeans is as high as 5,000 joules per kilogram. Monday evening, in Arkansas and to Missouri, more than 4,000 joules per kilogram. So really be careful there with these storms, especially Sunday until Tuesday. So stay safe. Still shows some snow in the Rockies next 5 days until Tuesday. Even some 9 inches in Colorado, 12 inches. Shows later starting Sunday, northern New Mexico, a finger two. And Arizona still shows Utah, some like 9 inches, 10 inches, some 9. Other spots a little bit lower to 2 inches. Some in Nevada, spots in Oregon. So stay safe. Washington does show as well. Idaho even to like 12 inches. Montana some more. So be careful those areas. And still shows in Canada some snow to 15 centimeters. Quebec, especially northern Quebec, northern Manitoba, still shows some today. Spots of Ontario, even further south in Ontario, possibly this might change. And in the Pacific, British Columbia. So be careful those mountains there. And it shows a little bit more further north, spots central northern British Columbia, and some of the mountains in Alberta a little bit, but more northwestern territories and into Yukon, some in northern Alaska, more like those mountains southern Alaska and western Alaska. So be careful. There's the GFS, shows even more Montana and Idaho, spots Utah, Colorado. The GFS even higher in northern Manitoba, spots of Quebec into Labrador. So be careful. The icons more consolidated in the mountains, and but has a lot in Quebec as well. So be careful, stay safe, and does show here still possibly spots of the US and Eastern Canada, more rain, especially like in Quebec, some 73 millimeters. In the US, the European model still shows in North Dakota next 5 days to 4 inches, spots to 3 inches, even South Dakota. But the icon, especially the icon shows spots of Oklahoma to 4 inches, some 3 inches, and Missouri. There's the European, it has more into Arkansas, even some 5 inches, 3 to 4 inches. So be aware. The European still has more in South Dakota, some 4 inches, but we will keep watching. The GFS still focusing on North Dakota, close to 4 inches, but it has a lot from those storms. The GFS a weird thing around Maine and Quebec with some heavy rain too. So be careful those areas, and still those temperatures, as I mentioned in the last videos, some more cold in northern Canada and warmer in the south, especially kind of hotter near southern Manitoba still, but there'll be this abrupt temperature change as this low pressure comes by. So alright, Friday morning tomorrow, some 0 degrees, -2, some more cold across the Rockies in the US and Canada, and more across northern Canada into Alaska as well. So stay safe. Northern Quebec still cold. This goes and does show like Saturday morning some areas of Ontario, Manitoba that were close to 30 degrees will be around -1 already by Saturday, and even to -6, -5. So stay safe. Get your jackets back from the closet. So shows Sunday morning still cold, especially some spots central Canada, but in the afternoon does warm up a little bit, some 10 12 degrees, but comes right back down during the night. So stay safe. Monday, Tuesday, and the cold moves further east and slightly warmer, some spots in the afternoon. So stay safe. Let's see here if there's something interesting. Texas still in the hundreds Fahrenheit to 102, and even to like 105, shows some 90s in the Midwest ahead of those storms that might help to bubble up even more convection. So shows some 90s in Florida, the Southwest, Southeast, and Southwest as well. So still those 30s, 20s in the Rockies during the night, as I showed you. For Friday still some 90s in the Southeast, in the Southwest, a little bit colder in the northern plains, but Texas still shows like to 106, potentially even more by by Friday afternoon. So be careful. Saturday afternoon still to 105, some more 90s and hundreds scared nearby. So stay safe. Friday, for no, Saturday morning, the show still already some tourists, the northern plains, the Rockies. So stay safe. Sunday morning shows still some things the Sierra Nevada, some tourists in the northern plains, some 70s in the south, and 70s is still kind of hot during the night, so that increases the heat risk in Texas, still close to 100 by next Sunday, and still next Monday morning cold across the interior west, and still shows next Monday afternoon, especially some 90s in the valleys, California, 100 in Texas, even more, and some 90s in the southeast. So stay safe, and the high resolution models from the National Weather Service still shows upwards of 70 mile per hour gusts, spots of South Dakota today, 60, 70s, spots of the mountains in Colorado. So stay safe. The wind in those areas, and still shows snow in the Rockies next 48 hours. So be careful. Those areas still like, if I click here, the elevated fire danger spots of the southwest this afternoon, and does show here those wind gusts by the European, even closer, that's like 62 mile per gust, or even more. This goes still shows strong Friday. This is still like Friday afternoon across southern Canada and the central northern US. This goes still Saturday night in the Appalachians, and yet again the southwest and strong gusts, and the southwest and northern Mexico. This goes it still shows next Monday in the southwest, some higher gusts, and all the way north to Montana. This might give some fire danger again. It still shows next Monday afternoon into next Tuesday, some stronger gusts in the plains as another low pressure tries to come by. So stay safe in those areas, and just a little bit, just shows here spots of Labrador, northern Quebec, even to 100 km per gust today still, and then this goes slightly stronger in Hudson Bay Saturday, and then still some lingering winds later. But stay safe. Does show spots of British Columbia next Tuesday in the Pacific, the next Monday action, next Monday and Tuesday. So stay safe too. And here for the storms, does show the European for like those storms today, Friday, especially Monday shows those severe storms, spots of the plains. Tuesday, the European still has by Tuesday some strong ones that low pressure comes. So stay safe, and alright, some on Sunday. So be careful in those areas, and still shows here like for those observations and hazards. So still some heat advisories in Texas, some high wind warnings and advisories, and here shows like still possible some above average temperatures day 6 through 10 in the south and the west, and below average still shows further north, and later potential to day 8 14, below average on the east and more above average on the west possibly. And precipitation in the central eastern areas more above average, below average down the west still, and southern Florida, and still shows day 8 through 14, more below average on the west, some above average in the south, northeast, and some below average in Florida still. So stay safe those areas, and be careful. Let's just see something here if it's interesting. So I think it's here. because we still have these severe drought spots of the southwest. In Florida, I recently saw a video of part of the Everglades dry. So yeah, still some drought going on, even spots of Hawaii. So yeah, be aware to stay safe.